Radio. According to CBS, the Indiana and Chicago game Sunday featuring Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, most watched WNBA game in 23 years.
Jaylen Brown straight away up top against Luka Doncic. He will back it out. 10 on the shot clock. Jaylen coming downhill. Finds the cutter. Porzingis two-hand slam. The first points of the fourth quarter come nearly 3 minutes in. Timeout, Jayson Tatum. Eric White sets the screen. Hardaway out on Tatum. Deep on the left side. Tatum throws the body into him. Spins. Back to his right. Fall away. No good. Or it is. Of course it is. They hit the front rim, then kissed off the window.
This crowd on its feet, the best team in basketball all year. All the work, all the sacrifice, handling the enormous weight of massive expectations. Ends tonight here. It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured. The Celtics are NBA champions.
There's a group of guys in that locker room that decided they wanted to win on day one, and they worked at it every single day. And so credit to them.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. The Boston Celtics took home their 18th World Championship last night. And Dwight, you made a very good point before the show that I think Boston, unfortunately for all of us outside of the Boston area, is now title town. Is it not?
You got to say it, Chad. What with all those New England Patriots championships, the Red Sox have been fine. Even Boston has been one of the best teams in the NHL for a while now. So, yeah, I think they can take that title pretty much unopposed.
How about our man Mike Oakes, who's at Master Control today, running out a little George Benson to start the show?
I don't think it gets much better than that just to start us up. I like it.
George Benson is a guitar badass, and I love him to death. All right, we got a lot of things we're going to get to today. We're going to focus in on the NBA Finals. We've got a 4-pack of tickets to give away for the Hillsborough Hops. Your chance to sit in the Rip City Radio Row. We're going to do that coming up at 5 o'clock. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also reach out and hook up with Dwight on X. You'll find him on social media at Dwight James. You'll find me there at Chad in Rip City. And again, that telephone number, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. And Godfather, we'll start with this in regards to the finals last night. You said it's a win for team basketball, and I want to ask you this. How do you see it that way in terms of a win for team basketball with the Celtics not having the big stars like Kyrie and Luka, but more of a team concept that went out and got it done with Coach Mazzulla?
Yeah, Chad, I liked it, and they've dominated the league right from the start. The best team in the regular season doesn't always win in the playoffs, but they did. They dominated start to finish. And what I liked about them is any one of their 5 starters on any given night could lead them in scoring, could be the man. And they didn't have a big 2 or big 3, even though their two wings are really, really good players. Only one of them an all-star this time around. But by the same token, they play team basketball. They don't rely on 1 or 2 guys to lead them in scoring every single night. They share the ball. They've been that team that I think it's an example of how you play the game and how it used to be played. It's a more beautiful game to play than seeing constant isolations with a player like Luka or Kyrie. And it's just a chance for people to see what it's like when you share the ball and everybody gets a chance, even their guys on the bench. I liked it a lot from that reason, and I hope it sparks imitation, which success usually does.
That's what I want to ask you about, because when I grew up watching basketball, the 2 big teams were the Celtics and Lakers, and with the Lakers in their Showtime, you had Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but Worthy would get involved. Byron Scott would get involved. AC Green would get involved. He had Michael Cooper off the bench. Same type of thing, a team concept where multiple guys would touch the ball. And Magic, who was a big-time superstar, could impact the game in multiple ways. The Celtics were the same way. Larry Bird was the man, but he could impact the game just as much with his passing as he did his scoring. And a lot of times he would take a back seat to Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, or Danny Ainge. So why don't we see more teams doing it? But let's start with this. How did we get to a point where the NBA became so star-driven that we became isolation basketball, one-on-one basketball? How did it get to that? Why?
Chad, I'm going to blame LeBron James, and I really am. And he's the guy that went off on his own and tried to form the original, that big three that he formed in Miami. And he was constantly trying to do that, add other superstars to his team. And when they did that, it was just a constant trade-off of, okay, who's going to have the ball out on top and try to go one-on-one? And it was mostly him, actually. And I think he sort of set the standard for that. But it's come more and more to that when you see more emphasis on the offensive end of the floor and guys like James Harden, who were just, one-on-one guys. And I think AAU basketball has kind of helped set the standard because most of these AAU teams, they don't really have coaching and they don't have set offenses. They don't run a lot of plays. They just hand the ball to the best player and have him go out, get his own shot, and score. And other guys get accustomed to being periphery players, sort of add-on kind of players where they don't have the major role. And I think kids grow up playing that way, and you kind of shift that way even into the pros. So that's been a problem. And, the other thing, Chad, is to play the way Boston has, you really need to have all five players on the floor be able to not only hit three-point shots, but to play make and to be able to even put it on the floor, get penetration, and then dish off to open teammates. And they've been able to do that. They played Al Horford at center quite a bit of the time this year. He's just excellent at either shooting the three, putting it on the floor, couple dribbles, getting penetration, and then laying the ball off to an open guy. And I think that's what it's going to take to be able to build an imitation Celtics team. And I actually think there's a couple teams out there right now in the Western Conference, Chad, that are going to be capable to do that. They're just going to need time. And it's going to be interesting to see next season if OKC, with Chet Holmgren playing that center spot, able to make threes, put it on the floor, make plays for others, or if you look at San Antonio, how long is that masterpiece going to take before it turns into a masterpiece? Because they got, what could be the best player in basketball in Wemby.
Well, do you think it's harder to build a team like the Celtics have with multiple guys, the team concept where you have all five guys that buy in and play that style of basketball? Is it harder to build a team like that compared to going out and finding a couple of superstars and letting them carry the weight?
I'm not sure that it is, Chad, because the new rules have made gathering superstars even harder to do. It's really going to be difficult to do that. And you can find more moderately priced players who are capable of playing that style. Guys who are pretty good shooters, but they're not max players. So I think you can acquire those players, and I think we're going to see teams at least attempting to do that. Now, it's not going to be easy, and the problem with the rules being what they are, you're kind of going to be stuck with players already on your team. It's going to be harder to get those free agents. There's not going to be as much room to do it. And so I look at a team like OKC. They kind of have the basics of that system now. They just have to learn to defend the way the Celtics did. That's the other piece of the puzzle. Boston defended so well, and you have to do that too. But it's turning into a game where the best offense is usually winning, and the team making the most threes is usually winning. That's what it's going to take.
Well, one quick note about the Celtics defense and how good it was and how paramount it was to them winning the championship. They just had the worst 5-game stretch in terms of scoring points on offense of the entire season, and yet they won the finals in easy fashion against the Dallas Mavericks. And how they do that, Godfather, with a team that is committed to defense. They can guard 1 through 5. They can switch. They communicate well, and they got the job done. And, I give props to their coach and the players for buying into that. But think about that. Their worst 5-game stretch on offense, and they still dominate the finals because they did it with their defense.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you look at a team like Dallas, they're kind of built the other way. They're built on their offense. We knew that. And the fact is, if you hold Dallas under 100 points, they can't win. They really can't win because their defense is going to give up more than 100 points almost every game against good teams. And so, they've got to get better defensively like a whole lot of other teams do because that's what it comes down to. Could you get 100 off Boston? If you can't, they're going to beat you because they're going to get 100.
Well, the big question for me now with the Celtics, their chance to cash in has got to be right now before the big money starts to kick in for Tatum and Brown. And so, with that Brown extension that he signed last summer, it hasn't kicked in yet, so they're going to have another year. The big question mark this offseason will be Derek White, and if they can get him locked up so they can keep the core together. But now would be the time for Boston, just like Denver last year, to see if they can go out and make it happen again with the crew that they have. And if they bring back Derek White and they've got the same guys out there on the floor who can go out there and play like this, they've got a chance to go back-to-back. And that's how you separate yourself among the other teams in terms of being able to win a championship. But the time is now because once that extension kicks in, like you mentioned, with the penalties that are in place for teams trying to, maintain multiple superstars, it's going to be tough. So we'll see if the Celtics can do it. When we come back on the Rip City Drive, we're going to dig into Jayson Tatum, what this title does for him and what it means for him moving forward. Also, some of the post-game celebration that we saw with Tatum that was a bit bizarre. Celtic fans, as you might imagine, are still morons, and we got to get to Joe Mazzulla, Montana, who did a heck of a job with this group and getting over the hump and winning a championship. Dwight's here. Mike Oakes is at Master Control, and you can reach out to us, 503-248-0620. You'll find me on social media at Chad and Rip City. Dwight's there at Dwight Janes, and you can join us 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive.
Derek White sets the screen. Hardaway out on Tatum. Deep on the left side. Tatum throws the body into him. Spins. Back to his right. Fall away. No good. There it is. Of course it is. They hit the front rim. Then kissed off the window.
It's a real feeling. Still hasn't really kicked in yet. Just trying, I guess, to enjoy the moment. I kept saying, wow. These last 7 years have been a roller coaster. Up and down. I had to listen to all the about me. And tonight, it was worth it. Oh, my God.
All right, there's Jayson Tatum. The Celtics win the championship last night, taking out the Dallas Mavericks in Game 5. Hey, Godfather, do you think this title changes the way that you look at or anyone else looks at Jayson Tatum in terms of the player that he is historically in the NBA?
Well, I have to answer that question this way, Chad. It doesn't change the way I look at him at all. One game and one championship doesn't change because I'm not a member of ring culture. But for a lot of people, it will change their mind. They're going to say that, oh, yeah, because he's won a ring now, he's on a different level. And honestly, yeah, he won a ring, as did all his teammates. And I happen to think they wouldn't have won that ring without Brown, without White, without Holiday. It was a team win. And you know, I'm not gonna lay that off on one guy. And I'm so tired of people, especially in basketball, doing that all the time. LeBron's got so many rings. Jordan's got so many rings. Hell, Michael Jordan didn't win a ring for 7 years. Then he got the right teammates. He got the right coach. It's like Wilt versus Russell. I heard Stephen A. Smith popping off about, well, Wilt couldn't be as good as Russell because Russell won 11 rings and Wilt only won 3. Well, yeah. Well, it so happens Bill Russell was playing probably for the best coach in the history of basketball, the best general manager in the history of basketball, and he didn't have coaches or GMs of that caliber. And I'm sorry, you know, it's a team game, and I'm just not going to subscribe to that. I thought Elway was a great quarterback before he won 2 Super Bowls when he wasn't as good a quarterback as he was earlier in his career. He just finally got the right team around him. He had the right coach around him. It changes everything. So I just toss out all the ring stuff. And, hey, look, he's a fine player. I'm not saying anything about that. But I thought he was a fine player before that game, and that game won't change me too much. Yeah, he shot worse than 50% from the field and was 1 for 7 from 3. He rolled up some nice cumulative stats because he played the whole game almost. And you know, all that's fine, but let's just relax a little bit on the whole GOAT thing for just a few minutes and just look at these guys for how they are when they actually play.
Yeah, I think the biggest compliment I can give Jayson Tatum is that this transformation we've seen from him over the last couple of seasons where he went from being the Mamba mentality type player where he wanted to have the ball, he wanted to have a certain volume of shots, and he has changed the way that he has approached the game to where now he trusts his teammates more, he will move the basketball more, and if someone's got it going, he won't try to force the action, and he'll look to get that player involved if it's Jaylen Brown or somebody else, and I respect that, and I think that's a credit to the entire Celtics organization, their coaching and so forth, to get him to move along. I also give a lot of credit to Brad Stevens for constructing a team that had proper balance, Godfather, so that it would take pressure off of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown so they didn't feel the need to go out and have to take over and control every game. And when you have that as a superstar, to know that you've got guys around you can trust, I think it takes a certain level of pressure off. So if you don't have it going or you're not making shots, it's like, okay, how else can I impact the game and get others involved who have it going? And that's a good thing. So credit to Brad Stevens for the type of roster construction you talked about at the top of the show.
Yeah, he's done a great job, Chad. It's in his own quiet way, you know, and I think adding a guy like Drew Holiday was genius because of his leadership capabilities. They needed that guy on their team who had won before and knew what it took and who could really relate that to his teammates. That was a great move. Porzingis, that filled the missing piece that they needed because Horford has gotten to be a guy who just can't go 35, 36 minutes every single night at center. So all of a sudden they had a starting center. They could use Horford off the bench. It just changed everything with 2 moves. And He had a great offseason. That's something Denver, by the way, didn't do the previous year. They stood pat with their team instead of tweaking here and there. Here's a little weakness. Let's get a better backup for our center. Let's find one more scorer off the bench because we lost one. They didn't do that, and they paid the price for it.
Yeah, no question about it. Celtics win their 18th championship, which is the most in the NBA now, one ahead of the Lakers, who have 17. And, with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the one thing I respect about those two guys, for being really dominant basketball players, Godfather, their willingness to defend. And when you're the two leaders, and Tatum and Brown are, they're willing to defend and sacrifice on that end of the floor every night. And when you do that, it sets the tone in practice. It brings a certain atmosphere to your practice. It makes it easier for the coach. And then when other players on the team see the two league guys out there busting their ass defensively, don't you think that sets a tone and lets those guys know that, man, if those guys are wanting to go out there and get after it defensively, we have to follow suit and make sure that we continue to approach the game the way that those guys are. I think that's huge.
No question about it, Chad. It's why your best player should be a good defender, because he does set a tone at both ends of the floor. And there's no way you can look yourself in the mirror if you don't go out and try as hard on defense as those guys do, given the fact that they're carrying you at the offensive end. Look, the reason Brown won MVP of the series was his defense on Luka. And I'm just glad people recognize that. He was unbelievable on a guy who is a terrific offensive player. And, I mean, it's a game changer. When a good offensive player can guard like that, it's unbelievable.
It's almost not fair when you have two wings that are that strong and have that much length and can defend like that. I mean, few teams have that type of versatility that we see defensively that Boston has. No one in the league does in terms of the different players they have that are willing to defend. It's impressive. Now, the one thing that was bizarre with Jayson Tatum last night, Godfather, his post-game antics were wild. He impersonated and quoted Steph Curry. He actually quoted Kanye. He quoted Angel Reese. And then he went through, and it looked like he was trying to celebrate or at least show a portion of different celebrations over the years that he's seen in the NBA. And I've never seen anything like it. We saw him get off like Kevin Garnett. But it was all, I think, pre-planned, and I think he knew what he was doing. But it came off as bizarre because the one thing I like about sports is I love seeing athletes when they're elated after they win a major, like we saw with Bryson, or a championship, and just to see them fill with that type of joy and stuff. So when he was out there trying to mimic and quote all these different players who had won championships in the past, I found it to be quite bizarre.
Yeah, and how about when he went to the bench right away and kind of sat there, put his head down as if he was doing the Michael Jordan cry, except he finally put his head up. There were no tears there, but he was trying real hard to make them come, I think. But the whole thing, like, what did he say? We did it? Is that what he said? That was mimicking KG's anything is possible kind of thing? Pretty soon it's going to show up on a Disney commercial or somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Also, I think it's hard to accept the fact that Boston may be title town now because Celtic fans for years, right up there with Utah Jazz fans, worst in the NBA, Godfather, known for being racist, for being out of control, for being self-entitled, all of this nonsense that they put on. And they're absolute morons. I can't stand Celtic fans, and I'm really mad at the city of Boston. But I think what it showed last night, and this is something I hope we can experience before I die, is how great it is for your community when you win a freaking championship, man. Yeah. There's nothing like it, Godfather. It's the absolute best. And when you get a chance to celebrate as a city and a community when your team wins the championship, that's like the ultimate. There's nothing like it, and we saw it once again last night with Boston.
Yeah, you're right, Chad. And I will say this for their fans. At least we didn't see any shots of cars being set on fire or turned over or fights or anything like that, like we have seen in some cities where they've won a championship. I just wish that the networks would stop showing all those goofy guys with their, they're going to swear on camera if they get a chance. And there's just, stupid actions and all the goofy stuff they say. Look, I've seen all this before. You don't have to keep showing it. Put the camera on players and coaches and their relatives, people who are a part of actually winning it. Not somebody climbing on the bandwagon celebrating it, but the ones who had a part in building the whole thing. Show them. I'm tired of seeing these goofy fans.
All right, I want to focus in on Joe Mazzulla Montana for just a moment, the head coach of the Boston Celtics. You know, there were big question marks about him after last season's postseason failures against the Miami Heat, and, of course, going in this year, winning more games than anyone going into the postseason. We didn't know what to expect from Coach Mazzulla, and he surprised both of us with the way that he handled himself, his sideline demeanor, which you're a big fan of, Godfather, and the way that his team, played together as a unit, selfless, and they defended the lights out, which is terrific. So just some of your impressions on what impressed you over the last year in terms of Mazzulla's growth as a head coach in the NBA.
Well, there's a couple things that I picked up on in the post-game, Chad. I watched the NBA network do their post-game, and they had good interviews, and they asked Drew Holiday, what was it about Mazzulla? And he said, well, he's a different kind of coach than I've ever had before. And somebody was bright enough to say, in what way? Give us an example. And he said, well, we had practices where we weren't allowed to dribble. And I thought, oh, man, does that ring a bell? Old-time coaches used to do that all the time. I'll tell you what it does. It stamps out hero ball. You don't have one guy standing there dribbling the ball, waiting for his pick and roll, waiting to go one-on-one. The only way you can score when you can't dribble is to move the basketball and move your bodies. So you have players setting screens, guys passing the ball to the weak side, rotating. They're cutting up the middle. It's genius. And he said he'd never done it before at any team practices, but it drew them closer together. Of course it would, because they're sharing the basketball and they're getting accustomed to that. I love that, and I think it's a tactic more coaches ought to use now. The other thing I heard, they asked Mazzulla on the set, when you saw the roster you had at the start of the season, what was your goal? What did you want to do with this team? And his answer was very simple. Stay out of their way. There's so many coaches who can't do that, Chad. They can't stay out of the way. They want to overcoach a talented team. I think he has just the right touch. He showed them the roadmap for how to play. Unselfish, share the ball, but then they go out there. He's not screaming at people. He's not, being rough on them. He's not giving them too many things to do. They played a relatively simple game at both ends. Defensively, they were very sophisticated. I'll say that. But I just think it was a very impressive coaching job, and I give him full credit. I've actually agreed not to call him Mazzulla Montana for a couple of days now.
Dude, what's funny is that we thought that they were foolish for not giving Damon Stoudemire the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're like, who is Joe Mazzulla? But Brad Stevens knew what he had, didn't he? He knew what Mazzulla was and what type of coach he could be, and then he put him in that position. And even through last year's failures in the postseason, he remained patient like good organizations do. And look at what happened. And this is what Pat Riley does for Eric Spoelstra. You continue to show confidence. I believe in you. You're going to get this right. You're young, but you're going to continue to grow in the job. And look at what happened this year, man. Mazzulla looked like a different man in the games, in the sideline, even in the postgame, the way he dealt with the press. He didn't appear to be sensitive. He just remained confident. I mean, I got to give him full credit, man. He was a dominant coach in the postseason.
He absolutely was, Chad. And his manner doesn't upset players. He's quiet. Yeah. He doesn't yell and scream. He doesn't yell and scream at the officials, for crying out loud.
He's not Stan Van Gundy. Ron, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, he's not standing on the sidelines calling them names or anything like that. And players like that sort of calm demeanor where there's no panic. He didn't look like he was a guy who panicked at any time. How many coaches can you say that about? Man, some of these guys, they get down by 15 points, and it's like, wah! And it's, look, in the NBA, in the modern NBA, down by 20. Teams come back all the time. It's just there's no reason to panic about anything anymore. Just let guys play. Stay out of the way.
All right. On the losing side last night, Godfather, Luka Doncic. I mean, he's a top 5 player in the NBA. There's no question about that. Yeah. What does he need to do next to get to that next level as he continues to, redefine his game like the greats do, go into an offseason, make some improvements, and continue to move forward? What do you want to see from Luka?
Well, obviously, Chad, defensive improvement, and that has to happen. But I think we talked about this earlier, I think last week maybe. They need to acquire more players, more talent on their team, I believe, because making this it was a two-man show, but it was really a one-man show. He had to carry that team because Kyrie wasn't enough in a great many situations. So when you have a guy carrying the kind of heavy load he does on offense, it's very difficult for him to kind of come up with and to find that effort on defense. And so to be fair to him now, I think you got to get him some help where you can cut his minutes down. You can cut his workload down where they move the ball more, where other players are carrying a bit more of a load to score, to penetrate, to make decisions, to play make. Get some of that off his shoulders, and I think you'll see better defense from him after that.
Here's Luka following the Game 5 loss last night.
It doesn't matter if I was hurt. How much was I hurt? I was out there, tried to play, but I didn't do enough.
See, that's the proper answer there. It's like, look, he chose to suit up. He was out there on the floor. You can't make excuses if you're not 100%. And how many guys are actually 100% that play a full load throughout the course of the regular season and all the way to the NBA Finals? Everyone's nicked up and bruised a little bit at that point.
For sure. And he took accountability for what happened, and I appreciate that. I think that's what the great players do because they're confident enough to take blame once in a while. Other guys, not so much confidence, won't take blame. He did that, and I liked it. And really, I do think he was probably banged up worse than what we heard. Wouldn't surprise me to see him have to undergo some sort of surgery. Probably won't be right away because I think he's going right into – there's still a few Olympic tryouts and tournaments left. He needs to qualify his team for the Olympics, so he's probably going to have to jump right into that. He won't let his country down. He'll get into that too, so he's going to be a wreck by the time the Olympics are over.
All right, here's Jason Kidd, Mavericks head coach, giving his summary after the game.
This season started in Abu Dhabi. And it's been going on for a long time. So for this group to spend time together, to fail, and to understand what it feels like to fail, and also to see what failure is, and then how do we get better and learn from that. And that's, I think I've got a great group of young men who will be hungry this summer and will come back ready to play at a high level.
All right, I got to give credit to Jason Kidd for his work as a coach this year, Godfather. I thought he was a dum-dum when he was in Brooklyn. I didn't think it was going to work out for him, but he proved me wrong. He got his team to the finals. He got Luka and Kyrie to mix and play well together. He got the most out of that team defensively down the stretch heading into the postseason. I thought Kidd, even though he fell short to a better team in the finals, he did a heck of a job this year with this group.
I would agree, Chad, and I like what he said. And I also draw from, I think it was Tatum after the game saying, that last time they were in the finals, the disappointment level you feel when you've played all the way into the middle of June and you really have nothing to show for it. You go home empty-handed. Yeah, you got a conference championship. Big deal. Who cares? You know, really. I mean, you either win it all or you're disappointed. The further you go in any playoff, the harder it is to lose. And you'd think it would be the reverse because you've accomplished so much. It's never that way. These guys go home really disappointed. And you can either draw from that and get better, or you can just kind of say, oh, geez, we're losers, you know. And I don't think they'll be that way.
I agree. Raising any type of banner outside of the championship banner is absurd. Here's what it sounded like on the Dallas Mavericks radio network, the final call last night.
And that'll do it. The Boston Celtics are champions of the NBA for 2023-2024 and for the 18th time in franchise history as they defeat the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games, winning Game 5 tonight, 106-88.
All right, there it is. The Celtics win their 18th championship last night. They now lead the Lakers in overall titles by 1 in league history. All right, when we come back on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, now that the season is over, what do we expect to hear next? And also, we'll focus in on J.J. Redick and what the next step is for the Lakers, and also something to keep an eye on with the draft next week and free agency the week after in regards to the Lakers, LeBron, and Bronny James. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather, now that the NBA Finals are over, when do you think we're going to hear news on the Lakers hiring J.J. Redick as their next head coach?
Well, to tell you the truth, Chad, I think tomorrow. I really do. I think it's going to happen fast. And it's just a case of everybody seems to know it. Everybody's reporting it today, actually. So I suspect they won't wait long. They got to get him in that spot, so that he can help get ready for the draft. I mean, draft's coming up next week, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got to get up to speed on what that team wants to do and maybe have a little input himself on what the team needs.
What's going to be the biggest challenge for J.J. Redick in his first year as a new NBA coach?
That guy named LeBron James is going to be – I just love it how everybody's saying, well, he's not being hired to be the head coach the next couple of years. It's for when after LeBron is retired and, they'll have, Anthony Davis and blah, blah, blah. And look, for 2 years he's going to coach LeBron James and very likely LeBron James' son. You're telling me that's not a task? I mean, a lot of things he might want to do with that team, he's not going to be able to make those changes with LeBron there because you're going to have to play entirely different without him. So I think it's going to be a difficult job for those years that LeBron is still around, particularly if Bronny's there, because I think LeBron's going to expect Bronny to get playing time. Don't you?
Playing time?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about that angle too much. I guess it depends on what he looks like in camp and in the preseason and whether or not he's going to be able to play. I'm not so sure that LeBron will be the biggest challenge for him. I'm wondering what it's going to be like for the rest of the guys on the team after LeBron and AD in regards to – they'll never say it publicly, but don't you think they'll be questioning when J.J. Redick is speaking, like, hey, is this coming from LeBron or is this J.J.? Like –
yeah.
There's a real weird dynamic there with the potential of J.J. Redick being hired and what that means for the rest of the guys on the roster. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it is for sure. And I think it's a really tough job anyway because their talent doesn't necessarily reach up to the expectation level of the people in L.A. Those Laker fans are expecting something really nice to happen. They keep waiting for the team to get out of that play-in situation. Not sure their talent in this loaded Western Conference is going to be good enough to avoid that again. I just don't see it. I think they're going to be right back in the play-in again.
All right, elsewhere, and I would imagine that the reason why we haven't heard about the Lakers coaching hire is the same reason we haven't heard about the TV deal being official, and that's because Commissioner Silver wanted to keep things quiet throughout the NBA Finals so it could have its own spotlight. Mm-hmm. But we should hear something real soon on the TV deal that we expect to be with Disney, Amazon, and NBC. Don't you expect to hear something maybe in the next week or so, Godfather? That should come soon, right?
Yeah, I think everything is pretty much set. There's probably still a few things going on. I mean, if I were the NBA, I'd be insisting that ESPN restructured their panel for halftime and pregame shows, and I would even wonder what they're going to do with their play-by-play situation with JJ off the crew. Are they just going to go with Doris and Mike Breen, or are they going to add somebody else? Because, I think their studio shows need an ex-player on there probably, and they've got Tim Legler kicking around there, who's their best NBA guy, but he's in a contract situation now. So I don't know what they're going to do. And if I were the NBA, I'd want to know that before I actually put the ink on paper.
Well, based on the way Charles Barkley has been behaving over the last couple of weeks and the fact that we haven't seen any reports that would indicate that TNT is in the mix for the NBA's new TV deal, I fully expect to get the announcement that it's going to be Disney, NBC, and then Amazon stepping in as the streaming option.
Yeah.
I don't believe that TNT is going to be a part of the future with the NBA. I'm holding out hope that this Hail Mary idea that's been thrown out there that TNT could emerge as a fourth option and have a package of games so that we can keep the band together on TNT with Inside the NBA. I'm hoping that happens, But there's been no reporting to indicate anything outside of the reported deals of Disney, Amazon, and NBC. It's not official, but if TNT were a big-time player or really still in the mix, we would have heard more scuttlebutt about that situation. Don't you agree with that?
I do.
It seems like they're out.
Yeah, I do. And I think a big part of this is ESPN has a lion's share of games. I think they want what amounts to almost exclusivity. And I think, of all things, they don't want TNT to be a part of it because they know TNT gains a lot more attention than they do, gets good games away from them. They don't want to share those good games anymore, and they don't want to share the spotlight with what's the best studio show the NBA has ever had.
All right, Charles Barkley said last week that he was going to retire after next season. Do you believe that?
No. He's saying that, but Charles has a way of taking back a lot of things that he says, and I think it's going to be really hard for him to retire. He likes that show. He likes being on TV. He'll find another show. He likes the money, I'm sure. He'll be back. He won't be able to resist. That's my feeling anyway. Somebody's going to make a nice deal with him, and it'll be cushy. It'll be soft. He'll get it on his terms because he's so good. I mean, they're going to offer him whatever he wants to put him on the air. And I think the other thing, I'm not so sure that TNT couldn't get away with doing that same show even though they don't have the games. Just put it on an hour before the games come on and an hour after the games, and people will flip the dial to watch them. I really believe that. I think they could compete with the same network that's carrying the actual games.
Well, if they are up against the bums that Disney's putting out there or anybody else, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
I would tune in to watch. There aren't too many people that I'll go out of my way to tune into, but that show with, Charles and Kenny and Shaq and Ernie Johnson, I would do it because those guys are terrific. And I didn't think I would like Shaq on the show, but I absolutely love Shaq on the show because he and Charles play really well off one another. And frankly, I never understand what Kenny Smith is talking about because he never makes any sense, but I like him too. He's crazy, Godfather.
They're all likable because the chemistry between them is so well. They understand each other so well. They know when to jump on somebody and when not to, how to come back on somebody. They have their little things going with their little sticky notes on the board and their race up to the big board. All that stuff is just classic stuff that you hate to see go away.
No doubt, and I agree. Charles Barkley's not retiring. He's emotional right now. He's irritated at the situation, but he loves money a little bit too much to turn down guaranteed coin. He's not doing it.
He gambles too much. He needs that money for his gambling.
100%. All right, when we come back, I do want to touch on the power of clutch and how they might really send out a strong message next week during the NBA draft. Also, coming up next hour, we'll get to Freddy Freeman and a bizarre night that we saw last night with the Dodgers. And we got to stop the insanity with the City Connect jerseys. It's not good. Trust me. You got the Rip City Drive. Hey, what's going on? 4 o'clock chat here. The Boston Celtics topped the Mavericks last night and won the NBA championship. The franchise's 18th. The MVP was Jaylen Brown. Here he is after the game.
To be honest, it doesn't even feel real. It feels like we're in some Disney movie or something, but I'm just grateful to be here. I mean, it was a great team win, and I'm just happy we got over the hump.
The Celtics are odds-on favorite to repeat as champions. Nuggets are second, and the Mavericks third. Jeff Van Gundy has been named the Clippers' top assistant. NBA draft will start Wednesday. Our coverage begins at 3 and will continue on through round one and Joe Cronin's press conference at the end of the night here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. According to CBS, the Indiana and Chicago Sunday game featuring Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, most watched WNBA game in 23 years. Checking the scoreboard for College Baseball World Series. Florida State topped North Carolina 9-5. Kentucky and Florida has been postponed. But I tell you what, Mike Oakes speaks to my heart with his musical selections, Godfather. Just the way that Michael McDonald says, darling, it's amazing to me.
He's really hit the bullseye today. I can't remember what he had. What did he have earlier that I really liked? It was
George Benson?
No, it was in between. Mike, what did you play in the previous break? Gosh, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was so good that you don't even remember it. Come on, Godfather. Be better.
Yeah, I should.
He's on point today. Mike Oakes is on point. There's no question about it. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops to give away coming up at 5 o'clock. Your chance to sit in the Rip City Radio row. All right, the draft is coming up on Wednesday. It's going to be a 2-night special. I got word today, Godfather, that day 2 of the WNBA draft, which will be next Thursday, it's going to start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Big audience for that, I bet.
A little matinee action for round 2 of the NBA draft. But the big stuff will come up on Wednesday. And, of course, the Trailblazers have the number 7 and number 14 picks overall. Now, I just want to talk about this again, Godfather, with the Lakers because I'm fascinated by it. They're expected to draft Bronny James in the second round with, I think it's like pick 54 or 55. Now, the draft takes place a few days before NBA free agency is going to kick off. LeBron James is going to opt out. Now, if you're another team, why wouldn't you just take Bronny and then see what his reaction would be, LeBron James, and then see what the Lakers would try to do to acquire Bronny from you? Why wouldn't another team do that? Why?
Well, I'm guessing now, and trust me, I can't back it up with tangible evidence. I'm guessing that the people, the good people, the fine people at Clutch Sports are making calls around the league saying, don't you dare. If you dare take Bronny before we get our chance with the Lakers to get him, you'll never do business with us again, and we'll make sure of that. You won't get our free agents. You won't get extensions done with our clients. You're going to be out. Now, that's the kind of power Clutch has.
Yeah, it's got to be that way, right? Because here's what we do know. LeBron, based on the reports, wants to remain in Los Angeles, and he wants to finish out his career with the Lakers. He also wants to play with his son, Bronny. And I don't believe that a team would spend a first-round pick on him. I don't believe. It's a possibility, but doubtful because he's not a first-round talent. And he knows that if he's sitting there in the second round, the Lakers can grab him. and then he'll have a chance to live out his fantasy of playing with his son before his career is over. And we do know this, that Klutch wields enormous power within the NBA. And, Godfather, we've talked about this at length, right? But the one group that you do not want to upset if you're a general manager in the NBA is Klutch, right? Because they have all the top-line players. They have the majority of players. And my guess would be is that if you don't take care of them or at least play by their rules, then they're going to make it very difficult for you to re-sign their players, to acquire their players, or to work with you to be able to get other deals done that you need to get done for your team. You need Klutch. You've got to have a good working relationship with Klutch to make things happen in the NBA. Isn't that right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a sad situation because if they were, in fact, calling around the league telling people not to take him, that's a clear violation of all sorts of rules, and they would get heavily punished for ever taking any sort of steps to keep teams from drafting somebody that they had a right to draft. But that doesn't mean they won't try it. And I think they are so powerful, they think they can easily get away with it.
Interesting.
Chad,
so I guess
it's a bigger discussion because we both know it would be worth it for a team like Portland to say, okay, we're going to draft him. Maybe they even took him with a 14 pick. Who are you going to get there? He has a chance to develop into a player, but you wouldn't be taking him as a future player. You'd be taking him saying, okay, Lakers, I'm not sure we want him here. I'm not sure that LeBron's ever going to come play here, but what will you give us to have Bronny? We want to trade with you. The trade market is open. Let's go. And make some sort of deal where you can accumulate another draft pick, a decent player that you can pluck for them. How willing are the Lakers? How much do they want Bronny? That's the thing, because they got to be worried that some team will take Bronny and then try to get LeBron to come over. Some team like Philadelphia, somebody who, has enough other good players around that gives LeBron a better chance to win than he would by staying with the Lakers. You mentioned the Clippers the other day. That would be a perfect scenario for LeBron.
Well, I think that it would. Because if you're the Clippers and you were to draft Bronny, then you could make the perfect case to LeBron. Look, LeBron, you're a free agent. We have Bronny. You can come here. We'll pay you as much as we can pay you that's allowed. You can play with your son. And most importantly, we have a ready-made roster with guys that will give you a chance to go out and compete in the Western Conference and get back to the NBA Finals. And you might be able to win a championship with Bronny as your teammate. How awesome would that be? And that's how you got to paint it that way. Yeah. And, Steve Ballmer is crazy enough with the red face. Like, if you got his face red enough, like if he was yelling and all excited about something, I think if his face reached a certain amount of redness, he might just be like, you know what, double barrel clutch and draft Bronny before the Lakers do. I think that'd be fascinating. And I'm praying it happens because here's why I want it to happen. This is the ultimate in my mind. For all of you Trailblazer fans bumping around now on I-5 and 217 and on the outskirts of town, the one thing that we share in common, all of us, is that we despise the Lakers. In fact, we despise the state of California. We despise all of the loser people that live in Los Angeles that move up to the Northwest and drive up our property. They want to steal our water. They want to take our natural resources. And then they come to town with their hipster douche jeans and start acting like idiots, and we don't want to be around them. So here's the ultimate. The Lakers just lost out to UConn and could not secure Dan Hurley as coach. They offered him a chunk of change, $70 million, and he said, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay in Connecticut. That's insane. Who does that? He did that. Now, can you imagine if the Lakers were to lose LeBron to the Clippers because the red-faced owner, Steve Ballmer, drafted Bronny James, and then in one offseason they couldn't get Dan Hurley, and then they lose LeBron, not to just any team, but the lowly Clippers that no one in town cares about down there. They're the Clippers. Yeah. That would be the ultimate L for the Lakers, and it would be funny. And so I'm rooting for that to happen because it would be a fascinating story. And it breaks my heart to say that because I have so much love and respect for the great Jeannie Buss, but that's the drama that I want. I want red-faced Ballmer to draft Bronny and then get LeBron to come over and they can make the other selling point, Godfather. It's like, look, you don't even have to leave Los Angeles. Yeah. You can keep your home, your compound in Brentwood. You're going to play at the same arena. You're just going to be wearing different colors, but here's the key. Better coach, better players, and you and Bronny can ride off into the sunset winning a championship. It's a beautiful thing. That's how I would sell it.
Well,
and I'm sure Ballmer can even be like, and LeBron, if you need to take a dump during a game, we got toilets. The arena's going to have plenty of toilets.
And he's very proud of those toilets.
He loves the toilets.
Yeah. Old Tomato Face got up in front of the world and bragged about those toilets when they were first constructing that arena.
Oh
Chad,
my gosh. I want the drama.
It's the only one of these scenarios that has a real legit chance of working, I think, because they don't have to move out of town. They can keep their fancy new mansion. He can play at home. He's got his whole family there, and his mom's there to watch him play all the time. And you mentioned it. Oh, can you imagine the dream that LeBron would have to win a title with his son? Oh, God. And he's not going to do that with the Lakers. There ain't no way. Okay? But with the Clippers, they got a chance, even though it is still the Clippers. But they have a chance.
They can even win the in-season tournament. He can win the in-season tournament and the championship.
Back to back.
They could get 2 rings together, Bronny and LeBron.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better than that. But, dude, I you know how these billionaires operate, a guy like Steve Ballmer?
Yeah.
How often – he doesn't – he's crazy. Do you think he's really worried about what Clutch thinks? You know,
No.
Ballmer is just crazy enough to where he'd be like, screw Clutch. I want Bronny, and we're drafting. We're going to take him.
Billionaires.
I think it would be fascinating.
Yeah, billionaires like Tomato Face Ballmer, they don't worry about anybody else because they've always been able to bully their way through everything. They don't care. If there's any owner in the league willing to upset Clutch, it's Steve Ballmer. He's probably tired of hearing about them anyway. And you know, I don't know, maybe if they sign LeBron, maybe then you got a better chance of keeping Paul George on the team. I don't know. Maybe it's a worse chance. I don't know. But, you know, they'd have a pretty good team if they got him. You know, even though LeBron's not the same LeBron, you put him on the Clippers, that's a pretty good unit there.
Well, I'm praying for it to happen, Godfather. I mean, I don't know what else I need to ask for.
You
but
love
it would
chaos. You love that chaos, don't you? I do.
I really do. I really do. I love chaos, and I love the drama, but I know how much the Clippers are disrespected in Los Angeles. No one down there cares about them. Mm-hmm. And if they were to somehow to punk the Lakers, the great and mighty Lakers, if they were to punk them, it would be fascinating. It would blow my mind.
Wow.
It would be awesome.
What that would do for the rivalry between those two teams, oh, my goodness. Golly. That would be crazy down there.
Can you imagine the bitterness when those two teams took the floor and LeBron was wearing Clipper gear with Bronny out there?
Yeah, but he won't be doing it in the Staples Center or whatever the heck they're calling it now. They got their own arena, so he's going to be – old Ballmer's going to be strutting his stuff in that new arena, man.
Oh my goodness! So, but I would agree. I mean, it almost makes sense, right? That Clutch is not going to sit back and not communicate exactly what they're thinking in regards to Bronny, right? They're going to let everyone know that, hey, this is what we're going to do. And they pick ahead in the second round. They pick ahead of the Lakers. I think they pick ahead of them. So I would do it.
Yeah, and even if they didn't pick ahead of them, second-round picks, you can go buy one of those. Ballmer would buy one. You can buy a second, especially if it's not an early second-round pick. You can pick one of those up. You can make a sweet, really little deal to get one. Anybody in the league really could get a second-round pick ahead of the Lakers and go ahead and swing some sort of a deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I want. I want to see it go down. I would love to see it happen, and we'll see how things shake out. But more than likely, you're right. No one's going to touch him because Clutch will put out the threats, and then Bronny will get taken at number 45 by the number 55 by the Lakers and sit and be there with his pops. Yeah. That's probably how it's going to go down.
Yeah,
that's a shame. We need drama, and Ballmer being in the mix of that, he would be yelling and stuff. Can you imagine that? He's crazy. Steve Ballmer's crazy.
Yeah, the chance for him to show more of that craziness is what we're counting on that.
Yeah, I'm here for it. All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, we got to talk about Freddy Freeman's unique night last night with the Dodgers. The City Connect jerseys are hot trash. And then a really great piece by Mark Wicker on Drew Holiday and his impact, not just on the Celtics, but basically any team he plays for, being a consummate pro. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad.
off the headset for a couple minutes.
Oh, Godfather, one side note.
Yeah.
It did not take long, but the Eagles have already added more dates in November to their Sphere residency down in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Those tickets are going to sell like hotcakes, man.
September 20th, 21st, 27th, and 28th. October 11th, 12th, 18th, and 19th. And then November 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 9th. And I would imagine they're going to add more dates. There's no way they're not going to do that.
So when are you going?
I don't know.
You're going to go, though, aren't you?
Well, I mean, don't you think that if you have a band that you have seen over 20 times that you love seeing in concert more than any other band, if they're going to play in this state-of-the-art venue, that you got to at least see them there once? I guess here's the question I would have for you. Is a concert with your favorite band or artist better in the Sphere than it would be in any other venue? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I got to say, having not been there, I'm not sure. But everything I read, everything I hear, people say, yeah, it is.
Oh, goodness. There's always different things around the corner. There's always something trying to take your money away from you, Godfather. There's always something.
You know my situation, Chad. How many times do I say, well, I'd like to do it, but I really can't afford it? Do you ever hear me say that?
No.
I'm about to say
I'm
it
in
on this one, but
that's why I love you, though. If I suggest something, you're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, let's go.
Do it.
It's usually let's go.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you about this. Let's shift topics for just a moment. Freddy Freeman, who is one of the coolest guys in all of baseball and one of my favorite players. I know you have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a person and his game. He had a hit and walked 5 times last night. How rare and unique is the fact that Freddy Freeman got 5 walks last night for the Dodgers?
Well, Chad, it speaks. I mean, you got to be a pretty good player to get that. You know, they're not going to walk some scrub 5 times in a game, even if they have to carry the ball up to home plate and put it on a tee. It's just not going to happen. And it's happened to a lot of guys over the years because baseball's been played so long. But just a sampling of some of the guys who've had a hit and 5 walks. You know, you're talking about Todd Helton, Mark McGwire, Frank Thomas, Mo Vaughn, Cecil Fielder, Dick Allen, Hank Aaron. I mean, guys with a lot of power who pitchers have feared. And he is certainly on that list. And, you know, I know you're a Dodger fan, but I would say this, Chad. I worry for you Dodger fans that because Mookie Betts is out of the lineup now, you're going to see Fred Freeman and Ohtani not get the opportunities at the plate that they have gotten a lot in the past. They're going to get walked more.
Yeah, their second straight game, it looks like what we're going to see again. Shohei Ohtani at leadoff, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez, Miguel Vargas, and Chris Taylor batting ninth. And, you know, I guess really you think they're going to be fine in terms of being able to work through the injuries and maintain their position in the West. It's all about just getting healthy come postseason time, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's all they need to worry about is getting to the postseason. And, you know, by the time you get to the postseason, if they're ready to go, you can almost look at it like Yamamoto, the pitcher who's going to be out for a while. He doesn't have as many innings under his belt as he normally would. Maybe the rest was good for him. I'd say the same thing for Mookie. He'd probably be a little fresher. I mean, he's like Freddie. They play every day, man. They don't take days off. And when they play hard. And so I've often wished that Fred Freeman, when he was with the Braves, take some days off, man. You don't have to play 162 every year. But he's just one of those guys that never wants to take a day off. And long term, it might be good for them. They haven't had the best of luck in the playoffs the last few years, so maybe this will work in their advantage. It's just, you know, you got to get to the playoffs. they've got a good enough lead, and I don't think anybody's hot enough in that division to catch them. So they'll be okay.
All right, real quick. How in the world did the Braves let him go? How do you let Freddie Freeman, who is a consummate pro, great in the clubhouse, ultra-productive player, walk away from your franchise? What a bunch of dum-dums they are. I can't believe that. That blows me away.
Well, Chad, again, it comes that they're owned by Liberty Media, a big corporate conglomerate.
Liberty schmibberty, morons.
Yeah. And they didn't want to spend the money to give him that long-term contract. They're looking at his age. And then the genius general manager thinks, well, we'll go get Matt Olson from Oakland, and he's a local guy, and he'll be just as good. The problem, Matt Olson was great last year, led the league, led Major League Baseball in home runs. Well, no, because Judge hit more, but led the National League in home runs. And he was great for them, but not as good in the clubhouse, not a leader, and this year got off to a terrible start. So he's not Freddie Freeman. That's the problem. And Freeman was so good at policing their clubhouse. I think we've seen some cracks coming now in their culture and the way they do business.
All right, let's talk about these City Connect jerseys. I'm not a big fan, Godfather, and I'm not sure that the players are a big fan. Like, what's your take on what's going on here with the City Connect jerseys?
Well, I think for the most part, Chad, and they've been going longer in basketball than they have in baseball. But I think the designers, the people who design these uniforms, they're coming up with new home and new road uniforms. Then they're coming up with City Connect uniforms. Then there's one other one that they do, too. I think they're flat running out of good ideas. And I think when they do that, you see a lot of stuff going out there that either doesn't make any sense at all or it just doesn't look good. And they're trying to get wild with them, different colors. What they're really trying to do is get uniforms that people want to buy. They want to buy the replica jerseys. It's all about the money. It's not about looking good on the field. It's like, can we sucker fans into buying even more uniforms? Now, the Dodger one, I don't think it's offensive. It doesn't come up with a lot of different wacky colors and everything. And I actually quite like the hats because they took a different – they used the L.A. Emblem and trademark and combined it with the D that they use on the uniforms, and it looks kind of cool. But I might be tempted on that one. The uniforms, I don't think you like them at all, do you?
No, what are they called? The City of Dreams. It's like a funfetti situation. No, I'm not down. The funfetti City Connect.
Yeah,
not a good situation.
Yeah, and they got like a shooting star going through the block printing of the Dodgers or Los Angeles, I think it says on the front, and that's supposed to signify all the stars that there are down there. I don't know. They try too hard, and we've seen it in the NBA. Some of them have just been terrible, and they find a good one. Here's the other thing: they actually sometimes have found a good one with teams, but they only do them for a year. So you run it out there for a year, and then it's gone. I don't know. It just you don't need to make so much money that you have to do stuff like that affects your branding and the look of your team on the field or the court. And I think it upsets players sometimes, too. Sometimes the players don't like them at all.
Yeah, I went through and looked at all the different pictures of these City Connect jerseys, and I'm not impressed at all. But the reason why they're doing it is that people are buying them.
Yeah.
And they continue to sell. And this is really what it is that if you continue to put out new jerseys, different styles each and every year, people are going to continue to buy, and until people stop buying them, they're going to continue to make them, Godfather. That's what it comes down to. What you and I think might be a little bit dumb, there are people who are willing to, fork up the cash to be able to pay and buy those new jerseys. They love it.
Yeah, and I've never liked what they've done with baseball uniforms. They've been doing some college team uniforms for years now, and I frankly never liked them. Look, I love my friends at Nike, and I think you guys do a great job out there for the most part. But with baseball, it's a tradition-based sport with very traditional uniforms. The Dodgers probably, along with the Yankees, have that uniform that, you know what, just leave it alone. Don't mess with it. There's nothing you can do to improve the Dodger uniform. It's the best. It's been the best for years. Don't mess with it. And really, the Yankee pinstripes, come on. You want to touch those? You want to mess around with the Yankee stuff? That would be just idiotic. And yet, here we come, City Connect uniforms. Just leave it alone. Don't do it.
Well, one of the things I've always loved about sports, and I'm a traditionalist when it comes to uniforms, but I like the original color schemes for the teams. I like the traditional home whites that teams wear in sports. Obviously, in the NFL, they're home colors. Mm-hmm. I just like the traditional knowing what you're going to expect from your team when they're at home or on the road, and I kind of like that. And unfortunately, in today's world, you don't get it, but I don't get too upset one way or the other. I just hope that, at some point they'll be able to settle on something, or at least if you have a good one that seems to really connect with people, that maybe you can stick with that one for another year or so forth. But, again, it's not about that. It's about money. And if people are going to buy them, they're going to keep making them. That's all.
That's right.
Who are we to get in the way of the almighty dollar, Godfather?
Well, Chad, it's just like ticket prices. People complain about ticket prices all the time. Well, quit buying them. That's why they raise the price, because they can sell them at market value, which is higher than you want to pay. And people just keep throwing their money down and buying them no matter how expensive they get, including those Eagles concerts. And as long as they keep selling them for what they're asking for, those tickets are likely to go up again.
That's a good point. All right, I do want to ask you about Drew Holiday, who he'll never get the credit he deserves because he's a very unassuming big-time player in the NBA. But, Blazer fans have seen firsthand the type of destruction he can bring to an NBA playoff series with his defense and his tenaciousness. But, Mark Wicker put together a nice piece on him to talk about his value as a team member and a teammate and what he brings to your club. What jumped out at you in regards to his greatness and what he brings to the Celtics, like he did the Pelicans and other teams he's played for?
Yeah, Chad, it's funny. Some players are just born to be leaders, I think. And with Holiday, and Mark Wicker knows him well because Holiday's a Southern Cal guy. He was California Player of the Year one year. He played at Campbell High in L.A., and Wick is really good at getting to know all the SoCal guys and following them with his columns for years. And, the thing about Holiday is he's just so mutually respected by almost every player in the league. They have a teammate award in the NBA. It's named after Jack Twyman, I think, an old Cincinnati Royals player who took great care of his paralyzed teammate for years and years, Maurice Stokes. And so that award has been won 3 times by Holiday. 3 times. And no one wins it 3 times. They don't usually do that with awards like that. But Holiday is just born to be that guy. He comes from a great family. His parents were players, athletes. And then, he turned around and he married Lauren Cheney at UCLA. And she, of course, was a member of the women's national team that won the World Cup and Olympic gold medal in soccer, and a great athlete in her own right. But she understands.
I think she won 2 gold medals. I think she's got 2 golds.
Yeah. And so she understands teams, and she knows how teams are built. And so she's his partner in all this. And she's the one that volunteers. Let's have the whole team over for dinner. Or you got a rookie who's having trouble adjusting to the league. Bring him over for dinner and let's help him find an apartment or whatever, They're just always willing to do things as partners. They've done a great job with charity work every place they've played. It's just one of those magical relationships that he has, and it's just carried over. And everybody who's ever played with him just raves about him. And I'll tell you what, the Blazers traded him away. He didn't deserve to be stuck on a team like this one in Portland. But, man, they should have gotten more for him than they did. I'll tell you that, because he is a big key for those Celtics. Huge for them.
Well, it's funny you bring up Drew's wife. Mike Breen actually misidentified a woman last night during the broadcast who he said was Drew Holiday's wife, Lauren, but he had to correct himself because he got it wrong. And so he was quick to point out that he was off in regards to misidentifying the lady that was on the screen. So I was like, a rare mistake for Mike Breen, who's usually on top of everything.
Yeah, I missed that. I was bouncing back and forth with some baseball games and bouncing back and forth. The game got out of hand to the point where I didn't feel bad about missing a couple minutes of the basketball game.
Let's see if I got the audio. Let's take a I can take a quick peek here. Let's see what we got.
You got audio of everything.
Mike Breen. I know. Mike Breen, though. He's so smooth. It's rare that a guy like Breen makes a mistake.
You talked about he and his wife, Lauren, and their commitment.
So 4:39 remaining. And there's his wife. Let's listen to some Wired.
Oops. That's not her, Mike, but he was able to correct it.
He's got a producer. He's got a producer in his ear screaming at him. No, that's not her.
Hey, do you think with the Blazers, making that deal with the Celtics and Holiday going over there, do you think that there was any kind of sticking it to Pat Riley by allowing Holiday to arrive to the Celtics, who's a bitter rival of the Miami Heat in that move after the way that Miami tried to play Portland with Dame last year?
Yeah, there could be, Chad. If so, I would have hoped not, because the obligation with a team like Portland's get the best you can for this very valuable player.
No, what I mean is that he wasn't trying to take a lesser deal. I think maybe it's like, hey, we got a couple of deals here. They're both the same. We're going to go with Boston and stick it to Pat Riley in in one swoop.
Yeah, well, maybe so.
I'm curious because you knew as well as I did. Once he went there, that almost gift wrapped a championship to them.
Yeah, it certainly did stick it to both Miami and Milwaukee, which should have never let him go in the first place. That was a big mistake. And just to refresh people's memories, they got Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams back for him, along with a future first-round pick. But Williams, everybody knew he was going to get hurt because he gets hurt every season. And that's why the Celtics let him go. It was a good move by them. And Brogdon's been fine. He's been fine, but he'll move along too. And hopefully they can get something for him so that they'll have something to show for this deal.
All right, we'll come back on the Rip City Drive. And when we do, how about we take a listen to Stephen Kwan's story? You've been real big on him in terms of the way he's playing right now in baseball, Godfather. You're big on Kwan.
Well, especially though he's an Oregon State guy, but people are really missing out. There's just not a lot of publicity about a guy who's hitting almost 400 right now.
Hey, wait a second. Is he the Drew Holiday of Major League Baseball?
Well, I don't know if he has the leadership abilities, but he's certainly kind of an unknown quantity right now.
All right, we'll come back. We'll let you hear Stephen Kwan's story, which is pretty cool. And then we got a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops we'll give away at 5. We'll give you an update at 5:20 on this interesting case going on with the NFL and DirecTV and what that could mean for fans in the near future. Hey, Godfather, quick note in regards to Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they didn't just bond over homework, but
yeah,
he also autographed her deductive logic book. And on the inside, he wrote, quote, "Jordan, thanks for giving me a course on logic. Safe travels." And then he also wrote the numbers 36, 38, 39, 49, 51, and 53 with the word championships to conclude his little autograph and message to Jordan, which would be the numbers of the Super Bowls that the Patriots won under his reign.
God. Well, that's love at first sight then. How could she not love him after that?
I mean, how can you not? That's a beautiful thing right there, Godfather.
Yeah. That's the most loving gift I've ever heard anybody give somebody. You know?
Also, I wanted to read this. I had no idea, but out of the New York Post, we mentioned Jeff Van Gundy, not Stan Van Gundy, but Jeff Van Gundy, who is going to be the lead assistant for the Clippers now. And he was, for 16 years, the lead analyst for the ABC and ESPN games. And then, through cuts, he and Mark Jackson were let go. But I didn't realize the turbulent year that Van Gundy had since the firing from ESPN.
Oh, gosh,
in this piece from New York Post, take a listen to this. Quote, "I got fired from ESPN on June 30th, and then my youngest son went to school in August, so we became empty nesters." And he was talking with Mark Jackson and Mark Jackson Jr. on the Mark Jackson Show. Then my sister-in-law tragically passed away in the middle of August. Then my best friend in Houston contracted cancer, and he died this spring. And then Jeff's brother Stan recently revealed that his wife had committed suicide in August.
Yeah.
Can you imagine all of that in a single year, the tragedy that he went through? I had no idea. That's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I think that's when it's probably right for him to get back into basketball. That's his work family, That's people who know him and love him, and he's in a comfortable environment for him. And it's probably good to get into that right now where he won't be able to dwell on some of those past things. And, they're empty nesters, so his wife will be able to go wherever he's coaching. She'll go to L.A. with him, and it'll probably be a better life for him, I think, in basketball.
All right, I want to play this because
Stephen Kwan.
I know that you're a big fan.
Stephen Kwan doesn't look like a.
I know your name is Stephen Kwan. I know you're a big fan of Stephen Kwan.
Get it under control.
I'm out of control right now.
No,
Stephen Kwan's out of control.
He keeps talking. Shut him up.
I know. We're going to get to you in a moment. Settle down, big boy.
Yeah.
But this is courtesy of MLB Players Media. But it kind of focuses in on Stephen Kwan and his journey to the majors, of course, started at Oregon State. But let's take a listen to this because I want your reaction to it.
Stephen Kwan doesn't look like a prototypical professional athlete.
5'9", 170, half Japanese, half Chinese.
Asian American and small, especially as a kid, made his dream of a baseball career feel pretty distant.
And so when you have this dream in your head, now you go, okay, now who can I look up to and who can I compare to? And I looked towards MLB, and I really didn't see much.
There was Ichiro, of course, but he was a superstar from Japan, not a regular kid from California struggling with self-doubt, which chased Kwan all the way to Oregon State.
I thought I kind of pulled a fast one on the coaches, they didn't really know the real me.
In Kwan's first game, he missed a bunt, missed a ball in the outfield, and struck out twice.
It just kind of fed into my biggest insecurities. I knew it. I wasn't supposed to be here. The charade's up.
It turns out there was no charade, just a big league player trapped inside a kid who lacked confidence. A hitting coach rebuilt Kwan's swing, then did something even more important. He rebuilt Kwan's mind by selling him on meditation.
It's going to change your life. This is going to be the best thing for your life. And I'm like, what? Best for my life. I don't want to be one of those guys sitting in a corner, kind of yogi style, right?
Today, Kwan works his mind almost as often as he works his body.
I shoot for 4 to 5 times a week.
Stephen Kwan, 5'9", 170, half Japanese, half Chinese, is giving the next generation of Asian Americans someone whose lead they can follow.
All right, there you go. How about Stephen Kwan and his journey to the majors now, where he's playing great baseball, Godfather?
Yeah, it's an incredible story, really, because he was playing on that national championship team that Oregon State had in 2018, but he was not one of the stars of that team. You know, Madrigal was, and he was a first-round pick, and Adley was first-round pick. Kwan, I think, 4th or 5th round, something like that. But I don't think anybody expected. He's been in the big leagues. This is his 3rd year. His first 2 years, he won the Gold Glove in left field. And now, right now, Stephen Kwan is batting .398 for the Cleveland Guardians. He's missed some games because of a hamstring pull. But here's what I found out today, too. He still technically would qualify for the batting title because he leads Major League Baseball with a .361 batting average if you add 18 hitless at-bats required for him to qualify. He would have enough. If you said he was going to go for his next 0 for 18, he would still qualify. In fact, as it stands, he could go an additional 0 for 38 and still be leading all of MLB in hitting. Not just the American League, all of Major League Baseball, if he went over 38.
Yeah, props to Kwan for killing it, man. That's awesome. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. We'll get back to the finals and a huge announcement for one of our listeners, and we'll celebrate that when we come back, plus a 4-pack of tickets for your Hillsboro Hops right here on the Rip City Drive. All right, checking the College World Series scoreboard real quick. Florida State and North Carolina. The Seminoles get a 9-5 victory in an elimination game. There was one other elimination game scheduled for today, Kentucky and Florida, but it was postponed due to weather. The Boston Celtics took out the Mavericks last night to secure their 18th World Championship, one in front of the Lakers, and now Boston, the odds-on favorite to repeat as champions. Nuggets come in at second, and the Mavericks are third, according to Vegas. Jeff Van Gundy has been named the Clippers' top assistant. Our draft coverage will start Wednesday at 3 and continue on until round 1 has concluded. And we'll have Joe Cronin's press conference live from Moda Center at the club level. According to CBS, Indiana and Chicago, the game featuring Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese Sunday, the most watched WNBA game in 23 years. More of the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Shaq coming at you right now. All right, it's a Hops Ticket Tuesday here on the Rip City Drive, and we got a 4-pack of tickets for you to sit in the Rip City Radio Row. This will be for the game against Eugene on Monday, July 1st. If you would like a 4-pack of tickets to sit in the Rip City Radio, call now. We'll take the first caller at 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. First caller will get a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops and Eugene Monday, July 1st at Hillsborough Ballpark. Call now. Mike will get your info and get you set up. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And Godfather, we got to give out a huge congratulations to one of our big-time listeners, Scotty Bethune, who posted a picture of his brand-new baby, Cody Shea. And I'm looking at him and his older daughter, and what an absolute beautiful picture that is. And Scotty Bethune, I had no idea that he had it in him, but he can produce beautiful children. But that baby is spectacular. Nice work, Scotty.
Baby. Beautiful baby. And so happy for him. Looks healthy, and everybody's healthy, I think, and great. And once again, his life will be changed for a little while.
Yeah, no question. Scotty says big sister's over the top excited about her new little sister, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, I've got to ask you a question because I just ran into a gentleman here at Spirit Mountain Casino as I'm getting ready for the payback drawings.
Yeah.
And he told me that he attended a sports writing camp about 35 years ago, probably back in the late 80s, early 90s, that was put on by you. Do you remember hosting a sports writing camp? And he said after the camp that you guys went to a Portland Beavers game.
Yeah, we certainly did do that. Kerry Eggers and I conducted a sports writing camp for high school and college kids we did it 4 or 5 years, as I recall, and it was a lot of fun to do it. We were able to get some celebrities to come in for the kids to have a mock news conference. I remember, I think Jim Paxson came in, Terry Porter might have come in. I don't recall exactly who we had. And then we would take them to something like a Beaver game and take them in and actually talk to people, get interviews afterwards, and we had them write a story about it. Then we would critique the stories. And it was a lot of fun. It really was, Chad. And we did it for quite a while until it almost got to be too big for us to run. So it was a lot of fun. St. Mary's Academy was nice enough to let us we used one of their classrooms, and worked out great.
That's incredible. A camp put on by the Godfather and the Dean of Portland Sports, Kerry Eggers. I can't imagine what that would be like with your expert tutelage. That's awesome. This guy also told me that you were impressed because he was able to sneak around to the visiting team's locker room, and he got a one-on-one interview with Devin White, and he said that you were impressed by that type of effort that he showed.
Yeah, what was this man's name? Did you get it?
No, I did not, and I
probably
the
remember.
problem is No, but here's what happens, Godfather, and I feel like such a knob. Tell me if you ever had this experience. Someone clearly knows who I am.
Yeah.
And the way they interact with me, I should know who they are, and then I don't know who they are, and then I feel like a boob. And
you're afraid to ask.
But I don't want to
ask. You look like a dummy, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't you remember my name? Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, what's up, buddy? And I'm too afraid to ask what their name is, and so I walk because I don't want to sound like a dum-dum.
Well,
but then I am a dum-dum right now because I don't know his name and I'm admitting it on air, so I feel like a fool.
Well, to be honest, I probably not remember him anyway. I would try to. We did actually develop some people who ended up getting careers in sports writing, and we're very proud of that. Some people that went on and became pretty well known. And
did Aaron Fentress attend the Godfather and Kerry Eggers sports camp?
I think that was a missing piece in his background, actually. If he'd have been able to do that, he would have been much wiser.
Also, I just got a message from Tony in Portland. Hey, I just Googled Belichick's girlfriend. I wasn't expecting her to be so smoking hot. Wow.
Come on, he's a champion. Super Bowl champion. It says right there on his autograph.
That is pretty boss style that he listed the numbers of the Super Bowls that he won under his coaching with the Patriots. That's pretty awesome.
Well, that's the style nowadays, Chad. If you've ever gotten an autograph from a guy in the Hall of Fame, either basketball or baseball, he'll sign it, and then underneath, HOF, and the year he went in. They always do that now.
Huh.
I've never had the guts to do that on an autograph going into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. I don't think that's really the right thing.
That's pretty awesome. Let's see here. Hey, Chaz, I heard your voice. Oh, yeah. Scramble coming up in July, but not get all the info. What golf event is it? It's going to be the We Play Foundation We Play Open that's put on by our good friend Alex Brink and Ryan DiPolo.
Yeah.
It's going to be out at Langdon Farms Golf Club. And let me see if I can get the exact We Play Foundation here. I'm working on the fly for you, John, because you're a good friend. So let's see. Events. So just go to weplayfoundation.org/events, and you'll see it right there on the front of the page. 4th Annual Golf Tournament, Monday, July 15th at Langdon Farms. The shotgun start will be at 1:45. You can buy a single spot in the tourney, or you can purchase your own foursome, and every single penny that they bring in will go to the We Play Foundation. So there you go. Just go to weplayfoundation.org/events, and then you can take part in the scramble out at Langdon Farms, which, well, you played Langdon before, Godfather. That's a beautiful golf course.
Very nice.
Not far
course.
from where you live. Yeah, it's spectacular.
No, it's a great course. And there's some real loyal players out there who like the course a lot and play it constantly. And I was happy to get the opportunity to play it. It's a fun course.
Yeah, who did we meet out there a couple of years ago? Oh, yeah, Trav and I met Otis Nixon, and he was awesome, Godfather. I love Otis Nixon.
I went out there once and did a guest shot with you and Travis, and I think that was the day I got COVID, I think, from somebody out there. Probably, I don't know if Shacker was out there, but if he was, that's probably who I caught it from.
I'm going to blame Shacker.
Yeah.
It probably was Shacker.
Yeah.
It probably was. Yeah, Langdon's beautiful. So, John, go to weplayfoundation.org/events. The 4th Annual We Play Open, Monday, July 15th, Langdon Farms. Shotgun start at 1:45. You can go single if you want or put together your own foursome, and then, boom, you are set. And I think they have adjusted and have learned that July 15th, the weather should be spectacular. And I saw the extended forecast. The weather today was great, Godfather, but it's going to get warmer as the week continues, man. You're going to get some of that heat that you love so much.
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to that. 85, 86. Yes, sir.
Boy, a camp. I wish I could have gone to that camp. I would if I would have known that camp was going on with you and the dean, I would have been there in a heartbeat. But it would have crushed me because you would have thought I was an idiot back then, so that would have upset me.
You know, the best part is we always gave them a T-shirt or a polo or something, and we would put slogans on there based on what people thought of sports writers. And the only one I remember off the top of my head was the Bob Knight quote where he said, "The 3 best years of a sports writer's life were the years he spent in 5th grade." So we put that on there. And we had a little logo and everything. We did a good job with that.
That's great. No, the only camp I wanted to go to that I didn't get to go to was the Fat Lever Calvinet basketball camp in Colorado. I know. I was so bitter. It was 1987.
Yeah.
And it was that was when the Nuggets had Doug Moe and they had Alex English and Fat Lever and Michael Adams and Bill Hanslick and Danny Shays and Blair Rasmussen, who played at Oregon. So I was in love with that Nuggets team, and this is back in the beginning stages of my love for basketball. This is back before my dad had the chat with me that being an NBA player was probably not in my future. So I thought that going to the Fat Lever Calvinet basketball camp would be the answer that I needed to get me to where I wanted to go.
That's all you needed. So, if you'd have been to that camp, you'd be playing in that league for years.
Yeah, so I made the phone call, and this is back before the internet and all that stuff. So they sent me a flyer, the registration form, in the mail, and I never forget when I went out to the mailbox because I was checking it regularly, and I got the information packet, and I got it all filled up, and I got signed up, and I was ready to roll. And then all of a sudden we had this family meeting at the dining room table that my parents had made the decision that we were going to move out to the Northwest, and I was like, that's fine. When are we moving? And then they told me, and the only thing I was like, wait a second, we're leaving here, but the camp is this date. We can't leave until I go to the camp, and they couldn't make it work. And so I've never forgiven my parents for destroying my little heart in that moment because I wanted to be there. Like Fat Lever, Godfather, like as a kid, he was like one of my absolute favorites. He was kind of the Swiss Army knife type basketball player. He gets you a triple-double.
Yeah.
He rebounded well for a guard. He could shoot. He could handle the rock. He was, he had a good demeanor about him. I was a big fan of Fat.
He was
a
triple-double machine who also had a lot of steals.
Yeah, he was really good. And then Calvin Nat's Blazer fans are familiar with him too. He was a tough dude, man, strong.
Yeah, very much.
Dang it, I can't. Did you ever go to a basketball camp when you were younger? You're probably baseball camps.
I'll tell you, honest truth, that there weren't camps in those days. I mean, the only camps we had were the cowboys out there in the suburbs, rustling cattle. And, this is the old days. It was like those sports camps where you went away, and you stayed like Sports Acres and Perry's Sports Camp. They were existing at that time, but I had never heard of them. I didn't know anything about them.
Such a bummer, man. Yeah, and so instead I wound up at the Tiger Cage camp out in Battleground with Michael Holden. That's no disrespect to Michael Holden, but that's not Fat Lever and Calvin Nat. It's not quite the same.
Sorry,
who was
Mike.
the other Trailblazer that he never I think his name was Michael. He was in insurance as well. Tall guy. He showed up the first year, so it was that guy, and then it was Michael Holden. I can't remember his name. Is Michael? What was his name?
Yeah.
Who was the other nondescript Trailblazers that sold insurance? It doesn't matter. The moral of the story is if you sign your kids up for a basketball camp, do not move until they get to go to the camp or they're going to be heartbroken. That's all you need to know about that.
Well, you could be interrupting an outstanding NBA career by doing that.
That was my thought. I was like, come on, man. And then I started playing basketball against kids my age and realized real quick that I sucked. It's like, wait a second. These guys are bigger, faster, stronger, and they're better at all aspects of the game than I am. That's unfortunate. Oh, well. Oh, gosh. Like, did you ever think that you had the ability to be a pro baseball player, Godfather, or did you know right away?
No, in Little League, I thought I was. But, as I got a few years older, I kind of ran into reality. And then I started figuring I'd end up a major league manager because, I coached baseball actually at the college level for a while. And I wanted to be a high school coach and a teacher, and I kind of decided not to be a teacher because of the climate in the schools at that time. It was a good move.
Yeah, good job. And now you are doing what you do. So you made the right call. Do you have any regrets?
The only regret, Chad, is I had a chance to get involved in pro baseball as a general manager at a Class A team. Was offered a job, and my dad said, no, you're going to finish college. And so I had a year to go and had to pass that up, and I've always wondered what would have happened.
Yeah, that's probably a worse decision than selling your home down in Arizona. because you love baseball.
You have to bring that up at all times, don't you?
Well, because if you still had the house, then when we wanted to go down to watch baseball, we could just stay at the crib. That's all.
See, it's all about you, Chad. We. You weren't paying for that house. I was paying for that house. Okay, let's get that straight.
I know, but it's nice to have friends that have certain homes in certain places, isn't it?
Yes, because
it's so great. When I want to hit
that.
Vegas, I just hit up my boy.
Yeah. I don't have that friend.
But you got Treb. You got Treb.
Yeah, I know, but
But you don't like to stay at people's houses. I know your philosophy. You don't. You will
don't.
never ask to stay at someone's house.
That's true.
Unlike some people we know. We know some people that have no problems infringing on other people's homes. But you would never do that.
Yeah, I have no idea who you're talking about, but yeah, you're right. And you stay at other people's homes too, so you can't really throw stones.
I know. Like this, the latest trip, I hit up Steve. I said, hey, I think I'm going to come down this weekend and hang out with you. And he just said, yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, God. Because Steve doesn't have much going, right? I mean, come on.
No, he likes my company. Yeah, he doesn't have much going on. He doesn't have a 24-year-old girlfriend that he's got to do homework studies with.
Well, he's never won a Super Bowl, so that's his problem.
Or 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
It's just funny. The guy reaction compared to the female reaction of Belichick's girlfriend is classic.
Oh, I know. Oh, my wife was like appalled by the whole thing.
Oh, I haven't asked you yet. What was her take?
Her take was the same as I think you said. Gosh, that's gross. I think it's the exact same thing you said.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. She started going into the therapeutic aspect of that and what could be wrong with both of them.
How much money do you think he's investing in the blue miracle pill right now?
Yeah, he's probably going that direction, I would say.
Sizable, no question about it. All right, when we come back, we're going to give you the latest on this NFL Sunday ticket lawsuit, which is fascinating to me, and then we'll get the Godfather's take on the draft, which is coming up next week. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, Godfather, you and some of the listeners are a big help. The other Trailblazer that visited Tiger Cage Camp out in Battleground was Michael Harper.
Yes, it was. Apologies to Michael for not remembering that. I should have known right away when you said insurance. He was in insurance much earlier than Michael Holton was.
Well, and to their credit, they were great with the kids. I can imagine now that I'm older looking back like a NBA player taking time to head out to Battleground. And this is back before Battleground expanded, so it was really you had the high school and Hamburger headquarters, so not much out there, but they came out and spent time. And, for a young kid to be able to see a player in person like that at camp, we thought it was awesome. But, even a NBA player that gets a couple of minutes or rides the bench most of the time, the skill level between them and your top-notch high school basketball players on a different level, because at the end of the camp what they would do is they would have the pro play the best high school player one-on-one, and both Harper and Holton dominated action when it came to it because they don't want to lose to the high school guy. But then you just see like, oh, man, Michael Holton can move. He can get up and jam. And, the NBA players, even that, aren't the best shooters, they still shoot the ball really well. So that was something that stood out to me for sure.
Yeah, I've seen that play out so many times with kids, young kids, even college kids, thinking they can take on some random NBA player. Like they see a guy on the bench and they think, well, he's not that good. The bench guys are twice as good as you are, pal.
Yeah. No, the skill level is pretty much off the charts. I do want to talk I want to talk about this lawsuit going on with the NFL. A lot of people maybe aren't aware of it. And, look, I'm not a lawyer, Godfather, but I think I can explain it in simple terms so that people can understand it. But basically there's a lawsuit that's going right now. It was initially rejected by the judge, but then it went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it was put back on. And so this is a regular trial that's in front of a judge and a jury, and we'll see how things shake out for the NFL. But I think I forgot the name of the bar, but it was a sports bar that originally brought this case against the NFL. And basically what the NFL is being accused of, and this is fascinating to me, is that the NFL, you got to keep in mind, it's not just one business. They're considered 32 separate businesses with their 32 teams. But what they're being accused of doing is working with DirecTV over the years to set a price for Sunday Ticket to where you have no options. You can have the whole season or you can have none of the season, and they set the price at a level that the majority of people will not want to pay for it because it's expensive. And the reasoning behind this would be that if you charge a ridiculous price for a Sunday Ticket and people back out and don't get it, they're protecting their big TV partners, CBS and Fox, because people, instead of getting the ticket, will sit back and tune in to the local coverage that's being shown in their market on a given Sunday.
Yep.
So that you drive up the ratings for their TV partners. And that's the whole idea behind it. And if the NFL were to lose this case, there is speculation that the NFL will try to push this all the way up to the Supreme Court, because the belief is, with it being a conservative majority, that they'd have a good chance to win the case if it gets pushed to the Supreme Court if they lose here, because the conservative judges might be more likely to side with big business, and in this case the NFL. If the NFL were to lose this case and their appeals, then it could become a situation where they're in violation of antitrust and they have to reset the prices for Sunday Ticket, and more importantly, probably create more options for viewers, meaning instead of just buying the entire package, which a lot of people don't want, you could probably buy the games just for your team, your favorite team. Like for me, the Broncos, I could get a package just for Bronco games. Or maybe instead of, buying the entire season, maybe there's a Sunday or a couple of Sundays where you want to buy all the action because you like the schedule and the way it lines up. And so it would create more options for fans out there instead of getting stuck in a situation where they're going to get punked. And I did hear that ESPN, in this recent negotiation before it was set in place, had come together with a plan to offer a Sunday Ticket for like $70, and before it went to YouTube. Wow. And of course, YouTube now is charging $400 or more. I think it's up to about $449 for the entire package of Sunday tickets. So, it would seem to me that the NFL would do something like this because the league has been known to be a little bit shrewd in their business dealings and suppressing information and doing things to get the almighty dollar as much as they possibly can. But I'm interested to see where this goes.
Chad, I've mentioned this to you in the past. What I'm looking for is that option week to week with an a la carte menu. So I can say, look, I only want to watch the best games. And I don't even know who's going to be playing. But by Saturday, let me declare which games I want. I might want 2 or 3 games, or I might want 1 or none. But let me pick those on Friday. Here's what I want this weekend, and give me those games. I'll pay for each game as it comes, whatever you want to charge, if it's reasonable. But I don't want the whole thing. Don't make me buy every team's game. I don't want that.
No, it's ridiculous, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I remember there was a day back in the 90s through cable, they used to have a pay-per-view option for certain college football games that were out of market. Mm-hmm. So you could actually go in and pay for one game. It was like $14.95 or something like that. I thought that was – I just wish that they had some type of option like that, or if they had a team option because, for me, I try to watch as much football as possible. But there are a lot of teams that I'm just not going to pay attention to because they're awful, or there's other great games that are on. So I'm going to focus in more on different games, and I just hate that you get stuck having to buy the whole package. And, I mean, obviously with the type of work we do, you got to have access to everything. And I do like the shortcuts that are created so you can watch the games quickly after the games are done, so you can, watch as much football as possible. But I don't know, man. The NFL, I love the NFL, and I love the product. I think it's amazing. And the NFL, just fascinating how they've created storylines to where, their fans can follow them throughout the course of the season. But this is a league that's been known that they suppressed information about head trauma for years and years and years because they didn't want to be hit with the liability to have to pay health insurance and care for all these ex-players. They're always doing whatever they can to get the most money possible. So this just seems like it's right up their alley. That's all.
Yeah, they're trying to put the screws to everybody, and this just fits right in. And I'm glad that somebody had the foresight and, frankly, the money to challenge this in court. And I don't think they can win, Chad, because these guys are going to keep them in court so long that even attorneys who are taking it for a piece of the action or even pro bono, they're not going to want to just keep going. This thing's going to go to the Supreme Court, isn't it? Don't you think they're just going to keep appealing if they lose?
Yeah, that's why if they lose, they'll appeal. It'll eventually wind up in front of the Supreme Court, and they'll make the final ruling on it. So, we'll see how it shakes out. But I've always thought it was so dumb, and it used to drive me crazy because I'm a Bronco fan. So when we moved out here to the Northwest, not only did I miss out on the Fat Lever Calvin Knapp basketball camp, but for the first time in my life, I was subjected to not having access to all the Bronco games. And I've always thought it's dumb that in the NFL – if you're in a certain market and they're not offering that game, you can't watch it. So you're stuck watching the local team. Yeah. In this case out here, it's the Seahawks. If you're, down in Arizona, it's the Cardinals. It's just like, I don't like that model. I don't like it. And I don't have a problem paying for games or having access, but I don't want to know that I'm getting screwed and being forced to buy the whole package if they're in violation. And that makes me want to go out and get the illegal stream on Jetstream and then stick it to them. That's what it makes me want to do.
Yeah, that's probably the best option. I'm gonna give that a try this season. I'm not gonna get over $400 for that pack.
You're gonna try the Jetstream and then have access to all the local markets.
That's the plan. Yeah.
My buddy Josh loved it. He said it was awesome. Awesome because there's no commitment, no time commitment. You just sign up. He signs up for the 6 months during football season, gets all the Bronco games and pay-per-view and whatever else he wants to watch. And then when the season's over, he cuts his subscription. And then he waits until the football season kicks back up again, and he resubscribes. And you got the app on your phone, so you can watch it from your phone. You can push it to your television. You can pull up the app on your smart TV. And I think it's like $29 a month or something. Wow. That's all. But here I am trying to I want to do the right thing, and then come to find out the NFL's screwing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to be good about it.
One of these rare times when you're trying to do the right thing, Chad, and you get shafted.
I know. I feel like I am being shafted.
You are.
That's what I get for trying to be an honest man.
Yeah.
It's Oh, yeah, Jetstream right now, $24.95 a month.
Gee.
No commitment necessary.
And you get everything, right? Pay-per-views?
Everything. Yes, everything. Pay-per-views, everything. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, everything. Yep, 1 to 2 TVs for only $24.95 a month. Let's see here. So, because if you do that out, like, what is that? So if you go 6 months, I'm not good with math, Godfather.
You
but,
do the math. I'm a writer,
so
not a math man.
6 months at $24.95 is $149 compared to $449.
Whew.
So a savings of about $300.
That doesn't even count all the other things you'll be watching, like those pay-per-view boxing matches, wrestling, movies, whatever else you watch.
Well, and I know you're down. You love the you absolutely love the pay-per-view and stuff, too.
Oh, the big boxing matches, I never miss them. Yeah, for sure. Got to do it.
All right. Got to do it. All right. Let's see here. Did we give away tickets? We got that. Okay, I want to ask you about something real quick here. The draft is coming up next week. What are you most interested in with the Trailblazers in terms of what they're going to need to accomplish between the draft and then the kickoff of free agency? So what are you going to be watching? What are you looking for there?
Well, I'm looking to see. I mean, obviously they have to trade. They have guaranteed contracts. They got to open spaces for, whoever they might take in the draft. I'm looking to see if they take anybody at the draft or they just end up trading out along with trading some of the existing players they have, because the big thing, it's all a mystery. We have no idea what they're going to do, but can they come up with picks in the draft next season, which is going to be extremely difficult. Nobody wants to trade those. But if they could somehow put a package together where they could obtain something that looks like a good pick next year, that's the big jackpot.
That's good. Okay. I did want to ask you about this, too. You sent it over to me, but what about Major League Baseball fully implementing the ABS automatic balls and strikes challenge for AAA next week?
Next week, which means they're in a rush. They're rushing this. And it's important to know the ABS system, that's the challenge system. That's where the umpires make the calls, but you get, I don't remember what they get, 2 or 3 challenges a game, where a pitch is so important. All the batter does is touch his helmet, and they tell the umpire in his ear what it is, because they have immediate access. It apparently takes 3 seconds to happen, but they get the pitch right. And it's huge. It's deciding games in the low minors because they're able to challenge bad calls. And I think baseball is getting increasingly sensitive to the poor ball and strike umpires in the big leagues. They're not going to go to it all the time. It's going to be a challenge system, but that's at least a start.
And I've seen it in action. So if a batter doesn't like the call from the ump, he just taps his dome, right?
Yeah.
And then that signals for the replay.
Yeah. And the umpire gets the news in his ear, apparently. It's like, nah, that was a strike, pal. You missed it. So.
I love it. My guess is the players, based on what I've seen, they'll have about a 95% success rate on, a lot of those guys, they know when a ball is a ball and a strike's a strike, man.
Yeah.
They've seen enough pitches.
My only thing is, for as many pitches as some of these guys are missing, they ought to get about 15 challenges a game. 3 is not enough. Gosh.
That's fascinating to me. I love that, though. Yeah, you're right, because and then depending on the ump, like if Angel Hernandez was still calling games, you might be able to get 30 challenges. It's like, dude, it's Angel. We need more.
Yeah, well, I got a new name
not enough
for
to deal
you.
with this guy.
The new name is CB Buckner. He has become the new Angel Hernandez. He's terrible. He's terrible.
Oh, CB, he sucks?
Yeah. He's been bad for a long time. Overshadowed in his poor work by Angel Hernandez.
I like his name, though, CB.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. That's
Band.
a good name. Yeah, Citizens Band. Yeah, I just it's pretty bad. I've gotten to the point now where when I'm watching a game, I love watching the the technology to see where a ball's at. And when I was at the Dodgers-Yankees series in New York, I had the technology up on my phone so I could, because based on where I was sitting, it was hard for me to tell sometimes, but I wanted to see certain pitches if I thought it was off or whatever, to see where it was at. And sometimes they're way off, man.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at, bro? I don't understand. It's got to drive But you can't argue balls and strikes, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's great. This is the ultimate, though. It's like if you instead of getting mad at the ump, you can just say, "Yeah, let's challenge that."
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No, the only thing is you got to keep those players from wanting to challenge everything. It's like basketball. First quarter, the guy gets a foul. The replay shows he did foul, but you're over there screaming at the bench, challenge it. And you only get 2 of those. One of them if you're wrong. So you got to keep them from wanting to challenge ones where they're wrong. That's the big problem.
All right. Tony in Portland wants to know if you can do Jetstream updates right after your Bo Nix updates this season. So how about that? We go Bo Nix update right into a Jetstream update to see how you're liking the technology.
I'm willing to do that. Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad. Draft is coming up tomorrow. Our coverage starts at 3 on Wednesday. And I got word today that round 2 will kick off on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Not sure why that is, but that's going to happen.
That's crazy. 1 o'clock Eastern or Pacific?
I think it's 1 o'clock Pacific, I believe.
Wow.
All right, when we come back, we'll head out to High Fives right here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather, I'll hand out a high five to Major League Baseball because it sure sounds like they're on the fast track to getting us the technology to handle the balls and strikes. So props to them. I hate to give Manfred credit for anything, but he has done a couple of good things of late. The speed of play, the excitement of the game, and with the pitch clock and stuff, that was a good move. And getting the technology into a position where players can challenge is good. So I like it. I'm down.
Yeah, me too. That's good.
What about you? Who do you got? A high five.
Well, it's going to be for Joe. Don't call me Montana Missoula for picking up an NBA title ring, and good for him. I'm going to give him a pass for the time being until he does something goofy.
Yeah, let's hope that he just stays on this track of being a great coach and dominant, and then we don't have to refer to him as Missoula, Montana. I think we have to give a bonus high five out to Cody Shea, the beautiful new daughter of Scotty Bethune. High five to Cody Shea, the first high five she gets, and I'm sure the first of many more, but props to Scotty, his wife, and the family, man. That's pretty awesome.
Sure is.
Pretty good. It's going to cut into your golf game, but that's pretty good, my friend. Nice work. Let's go out to the phones. Raider Mike, my friend. What's up, brother?
Oh, I'm coming in on my second shot, 18th hole Gresham golf course.
Oh, you're out at Gresham right now?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I got to play 4 balls, Chad, because it's so barren. I'm just jacking shots. And the point is, Chad, I'm coming for you, okay? You owe me a round of golf in a Derek Carr jersey. Name the time and the date. Let's get this over, and then you can do it again next year. So you can never, ever beat us in the Death Star.
Oh, gosh. Okay, it's on. No, I'm in. How about you take the pick? I'll give you the choices here. Let's get this done soon. And God help me, at a Derek Carr jersey, for crying out loud. How about you pick the day? You can text me. July 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th. You choose, and then we do it there. The weather will be nice.
The calendar in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
It's going to be either the 5th or the 6th. Wednesday and Saturday are my days off.
Okay, I'll set the time and the place and let you know, and then we can get this on. We can get it on.
Time to get it on, bro.
That's right. Time to get it
down,
on.
Big man. Throw it down. No, it's been it's been such a beautiful day at golf. I miss you, bro.
A massage.
And you're going to look good in a Derek Carr jersey. You are.
Nobody looks good in a Derek Carr jersey.
No.
Even Derek Carr.
Exactly. He doesn't even look good in a Saint jersey, Godfather.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
Good riddance, jackass. Now I got a cougar playing for me.
Oh,
and I love that. He's like Kenny Stabler cloned. His attitude, his gunslinger. I've always liked that guy when he was at Wazoo. So we got an A1 defense. Just badass. So if our quarterback gets figured out, we can challenge the Muppet Kid, maybe. Anyway, dude, I lost my
hold on real quick.
So I have a
real
new
quick,
number.
hold on.
So we have to
you got a
contact
new number.
each other. Yes. So I'm going to give it to you off air.
Well, how about I just give you my phone number right now and you can text me?
Yeah, because everybody's got Chad's number.
Hold on, Chief.
Just get your phone. Gosh, it's like I feel like I'm dealing with my mom and dad trying to handle your phone situation right now. This is a disaster. Come on, Mike.
It's horrifying. Horrifying. No, go ahead. What's your number?
360 281 5473. Send me a text.
5473. I'll text you, brother. Love you.
All right, text me. Love you, buddy. All right, appreciate it.
Quite a love affair.
There you go. I love that. Gosh. Oh, my God. They're right there. Once again, Raider myopia at its finest. He's comparing Minshew to freaking Stabler?
Stabler, yeah.
Yeah, and he's saying if things go well, we can challenge the Muppet King, the Chiefs. Like, what? No, that's not happening. Well, there's a very clear order right now in the AFC West. Chiefs 1 and the Chargers 2, and then the rest doesn't matter. And hopefully Bo Nix can develop into the guy that Sean Payton thinks he's going to become, and then the Broncos maybe can become a factor. But right now, 2-team race in the AFC West. Pains me to say it, but Chiefs and Chargers. Yeah. I can't wait to watch Jim Harbaugh with Justin Herbert, Godfather. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Very excited about that. Going to be fun.
Because, like, he went from, speaking of dum-dums, like, he went from the absolute dum-dum as a coach with the Chargers to now having the absolute Ferrari and Jim Harbaugh. Like, Justin Herbert's mind's got to be blown. Can you imagine that, going from that guy to that guy, from Staley to Harbaugh?
Everything is different already, I'm sure. Everything that Justin Herbert's encountering at their practice facility is totally different. Got to be.
Yeah, and no doubt. And then right away you got to be like, whoa. It was probably like instant. You're like, okay, this is different. This is a different ball game now.
Especially coming from his coaching situation at Oregon wasn't exactly the best. You know.
Yeah. And by the way, he said he was out of Gresham?
That's what he said, yeah. What course is that? What is he playing?
Gresham Golf Course.
City course?
Yeah. I will not be setting up a tee time in Gresham. I'll just put it that way. All right. Nice work today, Godfather. Props to you.
Yeah, we had some fun today, Chad. I loved it.
It was good. Mike Oakes is the man.
Yes.
Appreciate your time, Mike. You guys have a good night, and we're back tomorrow. Justin Myers, Rip City Mornings at 6. Dwight and I will be back for the drive at 3 o'clock here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.